which is Fatal Purity by Ruth Scurr. This book, it is in summary a book about Maximilien Robespierre, one of the main drivers of the French Revolution. It follows his journey from his early life all the way through to how he finds himself in Paris at the time of the revolution, and subsequently all of his involvement and his imprint that is left on that tumultuous event after. So this book, it is a narrative. It is written very, very well by Ruth Scurr. Even if you have never touched a book on this topic before, I think if you've got a genuine interest in people who drive history, then certainly this is one of the books I would recommend to anybody. It's a fascinating character, somebody who pre-revolution had a certain set of beliefs, the same Enlightenment, high ideals, Rousseauian Enlightenment ideas, lived his life by them, finds himself in the middle of probably one of the greatest events in human history since the fall of the Roman Empire, which was the French Revolution, and how those events there shaped him, the ideas of others in Paris at the time shaped him, but also later on you can see his high moral ideals, his ideas of virtue really left imprinted on the events of the revolution, and by the end of the revolution you can see what a marked difference in a man this is. And an example I'll give you on that would be pre-revolution he was very much against capital punishment of any kind, but subsequently after the revolution, during the revolution, he's pretty much one of the men responsible for sending tens of thousands of people to the guillotine, particularly under his shared Committee of Public Safety in 1793, 1794. But with this book, I will say there are a couple of topics which personally I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. It is alluded to that Robespierre did undergo some sort of Masonic rites and some sort of initiation into that secret society, but there's nothing more left on that after it's briefly mentioned before he goes to Paris from his town of Arras in northern France. That is something I would like to find out a little bit more about when you contrast that with the high amounts of Masons that were involved during the American Revolution, and also with the French Revolution, and how do they figure what other people were involved in that secret society? Did it have any, if any, sort of impact on how the revolution turned out, the events of the revolution? We don't know. That's one thing I would like to see further discussed, but probably one of the main takeaways from the book, I would say, for somebody who would like to enjoy it, somebody who does like history, is one of those ironies that you take away from the end, where a man who could bewitch you with the most spellbinding, hours-long even, brilliant pieces of oratory, speech writing, the deliverance was impeccable. I don't think we'll ever see anybody as good as him, especially in the modern era again. And one of the biggest ironies is that at the end of his life, before being guillotined at the end of the Third Madorian reaction, was that he couldn't say anything, he couldn't utter a word in his own defence. The irony is that the man who could spellbound people, could intimidate his colleagues with his intellect, with his moral superiority, just ran out of time, ran out of words, and ran out of supporters. And I think that is, even particularly with today's current events, how we look at society at the moment, I think it is quite pertinent to today as well. Somebody with an incredibly high moral attitude, and somebody who liked to impose their version of reality on others and tried to help make you live by his standards. But all that said, I would say that this book in particular is one of the best on the French Revolution. It is the best Maximilien Robespierre books. I'm going to give this 4.5 stars out of 5, and I will link in the description box below to a few other books which I can recommend. I'll show you some here. So you've got Fatal Purity by Ruth Scurr. There's another Robespierre book, which is Robespierre Life by Peter McPhee. You have a brief introductory, The French Revolution by Christopher Hibbert. More focused on the revolutionary ideas and the Enlightenment ideas would be Jonathan Israel's Revolutionary Ideas. You have The Terror by David Andres, which is fantastic. Fictionally then, you have A Place of Greater Safety by Hilary Mantel, which is a Man Booker Prize winning work of fiction. So thanks very much for watching, and if you can like, subscribe,